Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, it's going to be a little bit of a short one. I did see a bunch of people asking me, and I've done this a few times, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to be rounding up my top 5 favorite foundations. These are going to be specifically for oily skin. However, I will go through which ones are good for normal and dry as well, because with the exception of one of them, none of them are mattifying foundations. They are natural finish, lightweight foundations that can give you medium to full coverage, just because that's what I typically like. So if you want to see my hit list of the top 5 foundations, make sure to keep on watching. And please don't forget to subscribe, because I do upload 3 times a week, and that is the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to see my favorite top 5 foundations, specifically for oily skin, keep on watching. So I do need to get it out of the way first. This is not in my top 5, but I do love the Dior Forever HD Skin Foundation. It's amazing, but it was discontinued. I am sitting on some backup bottles, but that is my ride or die, hands down favorite foundation pretty much of all time. I am obsessed. So even though you can't get that, you can get a lot of the same finishes out of some of these other ones. While I remember, I am going to say that I'm not wearing any of these foundations today because I didn't think I was filming this video when I did my makeup, and next thing I knew, I'm doing a foundation roundup, and I'm not wearing any of the ones I'm recommending. I am wearing the Laura Mercier Flawless Lumiere. As you can see, it is very dewy and glowy. It is nice and hydrating. It's something I like to wear when I'm either filming or doing something a little more low-key where I want to be a little glowy. If I'm working or going to an event or something where I need super flawless but matte foundation, that one doesn't really work for me. So first, I am going to go with the Fenty Foundation Pro Filt'r Foundation. Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Foundation. Thank you. This is a super lightweight foundation. It is full coverage. It is mattifying. It is definitely oil controlling. But when I say lightweight, I just mean it doesn't feel heavy on top of the skin. It feels super lightweight and super comfortable. If you have dry skin, this will crack on you. I do wear the shade 200. So if you match to me in any of these, all of these are going to be good matches for you. Retails for $36. 50 shades, definitely one of the ranges where you can definitely get a shade. A lot of foundations don't come in as many shades, so you might not have a perfect match. This is one of the foundations that I do consider to be a perfect match for me. My favorite way to wear this was actually mixed in with that Dior foundation. That combo was like my go-to event foundation for years. Kind of still is, even though I don't love using that because it's not available. So when people compliment or ask me what I'm wearing, I have to be like, a foundation that you're never going to have, and it really hurts, and I don't like that. The one negative to this is that I find that it is very liquidy, so I do prefer it with a brush. If you use a sponge, I feel like you're going to soak up a lot of product. However, with most of these foundations, I like to apply it with a brush and then just finesse it with a sponge. The next one, which is pseudo oil controlling, this is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. This is a little dark for me right now. This is in the shade NW20. I'm probably an NW18 at this point. I was a lot darker when I picked this up, which was a long time ago. This is also oil controlling. However, I do not find it to be a matte foundation. If you do have dry skin, this can still work for you. The one thing I will say is the pump has to be purchased separately. So after all is said and done, it's not that much more affordable than any other high-end foundation, but it does wear really beautifully on the skin. It applies well with both a sponge or a brush once you pick up the pump. I do have a pump lock on there just so that it doesn't explode all over the place, because I've traveled with this, and the last thing I want to do is see this explode everywhere. I can get 12 hours of wear out of this. As you guys know, I do pretty much set my foundation no matter what. I prime it, and with the next 4 foundations, the big thing is going to be priming. If you want it to be oily or glowy or dewy, use a super hydrating base and a nice illuminating setting spray. If you want it to be really matte, make sure you are priming with a nice oil control primer and powdering the crap out of your face. Even with this glowy dewiness, I did actually powder my face today quite a bit. So you can still get a glowy look even if you are using a lot of powder. I just want to maintain this level of glow. I don't like when I go in and I look like a disco ball, and then a couple hours later I am greasy and look like I'm sweating. Next, this is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. I will say that I don't believe that this is a matte foundation, but it's not... trying to find the easiest way to say this. It is full coverage. It is a natural-ish finish, but it's more on the oil control side than it is on the luminous side. This is not glowy. This is not dewy, but it's like $10 or something like that. Amazing price point. This is the shade F7. This is a doe foot applicator. So you get a nice big doe foot, slap it around. This can be applied with both a brush or a sponge. This one I actually prefer a sponge just because it is so full coverage that I do like to sheer it out. I do like coverage, but as you guys can see, you can still see my skin through the foundation, which for me is very important because I don't want to ever look like I'm wearing a mask of foundation, even though I am. With this one, I do find it's a little less long wearing than some of the other ones. So great for anything under like 10 hours. If I'm looking for like event makeup or something longer than that 10-hour mark, definitely not the one for you. You're going to want something that's a little bit more long wearing. However, I will say that this does come in a nice arrangement of shades. And if you're like me and you have a cool undertone, it's hard to find foundations that are pink enough because everything comes up yellow. The Conceal and Define foundations definitely run cool enough for you, but they still do have some warm options if you're a little more on the yellow side. Next, my go-to bridal foundation. Anytime I'm doing a recommendation for a bride, or even in the past when I've done makeup for a bride, the Makeup Forever HD, Ultra HD Liquid Foundation, I'm in the shade R260, is my go-to. This, I think, is hands down the most perfect foundation for events. It is medium buildable coverage. It is a 40-something price point, so the same like Sephora brand price. Applies really nicely with a sponge or a brush. Does not control oil, but if your glowy, dewy desires are there, you can totally prime and set and make it matte. You can make it dewy. You can make it natural. You can literally turn this foundation into whatever you want it to be with literally no problem. You can easily, depending on what you put on top of it or put underneath it, make it perfect for you. So while it may not be my favorite to wear on my skin, I do love it, but I do like something a little bit of a thicker formula because I like when it's lightweight, but I don't want to forget it's there. I like having a little bit of that like, oh yeah, I feel my foundation, but not so much that my face feels heavy. That foundation's a little more lightweight, so if you want something super like forget it's there, it's going to be great for you. Not personally what I love. However, I will say that that is probably the most versatile foundation. If you're looking for long wear, good for photography, doesn't flash back, wears well, can be made glowy, dewy, or made matte, amazing for you. The next two are currently in the running for my current favorites. The first is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Foundation. I'm in the shade 30CP. I've done an entire video where I discussed this one, and I love that the color assortment makes sense. So it goes from a 10 all the way to a 90. So I'm a 30. If you're a little darker than me, you might be a 40. My husband's around a 50, and even up until 90 if you're very deep. And then the two letters, the CP. C means cool, P means pink. I am cool and I am pink. They have green undertone, they have olive undertone, they have orange undertone, they have yellow undertone. It's a little difficult to understand, so just go to Sephora, ask them to help you find a match, and they will. But for me, this is a very, very perfect shade match. This was like my gateway drug into darker foundations. For the longest time, I thought I was lighter than I was, or in order to wear foundation that was my shade, I needed to either go lighter to get it pink enough, or it was my tone but it was too yellow. So I always erred on the side of go a little lighter but it'll match me better and just add bronzer. Now that more foundations are coming out with cooler undertones, I have more options. So this is my true to undertone match. So it's a little darker than I normally would have matched myself, but it does match me beautifully. Same boat, same concept as far as shade matching. This is the Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie Longwear Foundation. What I have to shout out to this is that it is 100 shades. I'm in the shade MP3, which means I am medium. They have light, medium, medium tan, deep, and dark. So I'm the second of the 5 categories. P means pink. 3 means I'm the third shade out of 7. So I am on the lighter end of things. What I think is really cool about this as well is you have a pump if you want to use it as a foundation. It also is a... I always fear pulling out a doe foot because I feel like I'm going to shoot foundation everywhere. It also comes with a doe foot with the straw going through that so that you can use the pump or the doe foot, however you like to use it. I do actually prefer to dot this around with the doe foot as opposed to using the pump, but it's all personal preference. I feel like I just have more control about spreading it out. When I pump, I feel like whatever I put it first, I get way too much foundation. So it's really up to you. But this one, a friend of mine who I have been helping her along her skincare journey and helping her find new products. Her name is Tracy. She and I are the same shade, and she also loves this. Her skin is actually very dry. So definitely good for dry skin, definitely good for oily skin, a little bit of everything, and anybody can make this work. Again, it all just comes down to how you prep and how you set. I'm going to use a translucent powder, I'm going to use a setting spray, I'm going to use an oil control primer, but someone like Tracy might use a really nourishing moisturizer, maybe a lightweight tacky primer just to increase the longevity. Make sure to lock it in with a hydrating setting mist and call it a day. The one thing I will say about this is it's difficult to get your shade, because I picked mine up at Kohl's just because they have like 20 shades on display. At Ulta, they only had, I think, 10, and this one was not one of them. So it's going to be a little bit of a trial and error to find your shade, but when you find it, you're definitely going to like it, because this, I will say, it rivals the Makeup Forever. However, it's a little bit heavier. Like, I feel it a little bit more, which for me, I like, but not everybody does. Beautiful. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know what are your ride or die foundations, because I love hearing your recommendations. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.